Hey guys, THD Gamer 12, or Gamer 12, and I think it's been a little while since I've uploaded a Minecraft video, but yeah. Anyways, as you can clearly see by the world I'm in, wow, perfect timing, guys. Jesus. All right, let me just set that clear weather. But yeah, so there's this new shader pack that came out recently. I saw a lot of news about it, and it was the Zeus PTGI shaders. So people are calling them like, you know, this shader's like, it's the first shader pack to actually have ray tracing in it. Well, it's actually not using ray tracing because it does not actually utilize the RT cores in RTX cards. So I'm kind of out of luck with my RTX 2070 that I got for Christmas. It's still a powerful card. It's still retailing about $600. I have the RTX 2070, the Msi Gaming Z, but it's working out pretty well for me. I'm running about 64 FPS at 1080p. With 3 monitors, thanks to my friend Chandler. Thanks, buddy. He's lending me one of his monitors. So, let's see. So ray tracing is just really a new sort of rendering technique. Most of the time, you don't render light and reflections the way that you usually would. So, if you have glass panes, even while they're in my hand, it's reflecting the surfaces that are perpendicular to it. So if I zoom in on this, you can actually make out that there's a hill right there. And if I look up, there's a hill right there. And also there is a glowing. So if I do time set, this is again just a preview build. This is an improvement over the last one with performance. If I try to run the last one, I'll run about 30 FPS on full screen 1080p. But now, I believe they added motion blur. I'm not sure if it was there before and I just didn't know. But they added some motion blur. The settings that you can use with this is shadow distance. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you more about it since I'm not really that into this stuff. But you can deal with this stuff. Yeah, you got some bloom. I would probably turn that up. The texture resolution is going to be like over here. You have your render quality. So with this, it's sort of like super sampling in VR, you know. This is like the base quality that it can render at. And shadow quality is definitely something that's gonna help. So if I do time set day, bring it back up, and you see the textures, you know, they look pretty nice. They're smoothed. And then also, if you really want to get the most out of the resource pack, you're gonna want to get some bump map textures. Those are textures that if like, for example, stone and grass, when they're wet for a certain period of time, will reflect ambient light. So after a little while, you know, you'll see the terrain starting to sort of look a little wet. This is very realistic. So, you know, it's raining. And then after a little while, you'll see it start to accumulate some water. And then shortly after that, you'll start to see some puddles. Now, if I get in close here, Jesus Christ, that's beautiful. You can actually see individual drops of water on top of the stone. And I believe it is the same for grass as well. Yes. It works for most surfaces, except for the sides of the blocks. They have not added that yet. So that's probably going to be coming up in the next update, is actually seeing, you know, water stream down the sides of blocks. That is very advanced. This looks good to begin with. If you can see the reflections of the clouds on here. Another example would be, let's say, you know, you just put it in, you don't have any resource packs or anything like over here. You know, it'll still look pretty good, you know? It still works. You just have the default textures of Minecraft. Might get you a few more frames, depending on what kind of machine you're running on. I'm running on a pretty old machine. I'll put my specs down in this description. So, overall, it looks pretty nice, but whenever you... let's see. If you take a closer look at everything, you'll see that the reflection of the sun, it's kind of forced. You know, everything kind of looks like shiny plastic, you know? Alright, you know, if you just look around, it looks sort of plain. You don't get any of the god rays, you don't get any of the real reflections. That's what bump map textures are for. So I would recommend using default improved PBR. That is, I'm not sure exactly what that stands for, but I know that it has to do with that. I tried R3D Craft and those didn't really work well, but this one works pretty well. I mean, you'll see a tiny difference, but I noticed that the other one just has bump map, which is sort of like 3D blocks. This one just adds a little bit better reflections to the game with default textures. You know, so everything doesn't look really terrible with these shaders. You get proper shading, you get reflectiveness on most surfaces. I don't know what that was. But if you use the default improved PBR, bump mapping is basically this extra thing with most textures that gives it sort of a 3D look. So if you look at these textures at a certain depth, let me just get right on it. You'll see that from a certain distance and a certain angle, it almost looks like it's popping out, sort of like 3D. Like you can see from right here that it kind of looks like they're sort of popping out. If you get in a little bit closer, it doesn't look like it so much. It's sort of a 3D effect from distance. Our 3D Craft, if you see some of the cinematics, they have a lot of mods on them. Like look, from a certain distance, that almost looks like it's sort of chiseled, I guess you could say. And so there's proper shading. Like if I compare this resource pack to some other ones, this is definitely the best one that I've found. And with shader packs, I have a lot because I downloaded a folder that had a whole bunch of them. I heard from some people that Silder's Vibrant shaders are some pretty nice ones. So I'm gonna put Extreme on and I'll actually put Volumetric Light. So this one really, oh, that's bright. You know, there's some reflections on the glass, on the water. There's a few. You can't really zoom in on it because of the rendering process that is used with this. And going back to the RTX cores, I mean the RT cores, if it says right here OpenGL, OpenGL is not compatible with RT cores. I want to say RTX, RT cores in the RTX cards. You'll still get good performance, but it's not going to utilize those cores that are just in your card. I think it's just going to be using the CUDA cores, most likely. Zeus Shaders review. My first video that got the most views was how to make shaders mod not lag on like 1.8 or something, and that's when I was quite young. So this has definitely been a step up, both in voice, age, and setup. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this wasn't too long of a video, and thank you for stopping by and looking at my review. See you later.